Well, let's discuss understanding the surrounding landscape and monitoring the weather conditions both before and during the application process. Now, understanding the surrounding landscape is pretty straightforward. It's basically, as an Enlist grower, being aware of what other fields you may have in proximity to that, as well as good communications with your neighbors, being aware of what your neighbors may have planted around that Enlist field. So that's just, again, good common sense, being aware of your surroundings. Let's also talk about monitoring the weather conditions both before and during the application process. Now, an important thing to remember is wind speed. The label clearly states that the ideal time to spray is when the wind speed is between 3 and 10 miles per hour, and certainly not more than 15 miles per hour. Another key factor to keep in mind is wind direction. Now, in this scenario here, we've got a couple of the same field scenario where you've got an Enlist application that's next to susceptible plants or susceptible crops. And this does a good job of illustrating that when the wind direction is blowing away from the susceptible crops or the susceptible plants, that's a very good time to go ahead and make that Enlist application. But if the wind direction is blowing towards or even diagonally towards a susceptible crop, that's a situation you definitely want to avoid. Best to suspend the application at that point in time and wait for the wind to blow in a more favorable direction before making that application. And lastly, another key thing to keep in mind is to continue to monitor the weather conditions throughout the application process. As many folks know, the wind is never consistent, it's never perfectly static. A lot of times wind direction can shift, maybe in the middle of an application. So if you start off with an Enlist application and the wind is favorable, such as this scenario, but let's say halfway through it starts to shift around on you where it's introducing risk by at times having a wind direction that's blowing towards a susceptible crop, again, best to suspend applications in that particular scenario and wait until you have a more consistent wind direction that's blowing away from the susceptible crop. So again, 3 to 10 mile per hour wind speed is ideal. Make sure it's blowing away from a susceptible crop and continue to monitor those field conditions or those weather conditions. And as always, more information is available on enlist.com or on our product use guide.